Welcome to Transatlantic Wrestling Talk. I am your host, Andy, joined by always as my brother Dale. How are we doing, buddy?
Hey, Andy, what's up, man? Welcome back. We took a week off, technically, because we ended up doing the live stream of the Royal Rumble of 2022, which started out to be a pretty decent premium live event, but then it ended up, being what we thought it was going to be and exactly how it happened. But this is why you and I like to talk about the wrestling years of the past. Right now, we're going into February, okay? So not much going on. There wasn't really much established for February as we looked at In Your Houses, which we might touch on at some point. Nothing really in the ECW realm, although at one point we do want to go into that. Yeah. And we just didn't want to waste our time with Slamboree 2000.
But we actually attempted this Slamboree, didn't we? And then when we watched it and seeing how much of a pile of shite it was, we decided to go away from that, didn't we?
The one big takeaway looking at that was, why didn't they have the Maestro be somebody that actually looked like intimidating? When I looked at him, he looked like an 80s movie juggernaut bad guy. And he had that face and demeanor. And I'm like, so you made him play a piano in feud with the artist formerly known as Prince Iakea. And by the way, Ahmed Johnson was Big T in Slamber in I'm sorry, Super Bowl. That's what it was in Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, I think the best way I described it to you, mate, is I think that one text message that I sent to you saying at this point they were terminal. I think that just explains it all.
And it was a sad state of affairs. And actually, a year from then, that's when they started doing the revamping, and they took Russo out before the bankruptcy and before Turner sold it to AOL. So they started doing things like the Sin pay-per-view, doing a revamp for everybody. It was too late. Life support was taken off at that point. But that's why we ended up doing just a No Way Out, guys. And surprisingly, another one that you could hang your hat on and say, this is fun. This is what wrestling should be.
Even from the start, it was brilliant, wasn't it? We'll go to the matches in a second, but I always say about mid-card, Dale, always say about it, and I always say how important mid-card is, and it's something that I don't feel in today's environment that they actually pay enough attention to. And this is a prime example of some good mid-card feuds invested in these, and obviously there's some throwaway matches, but first match on the card into the Continental Championship, Kurt Angle versus Chris Jericho. Now, the only bit of this match I didn't like is I didn't really understand why China got a full entrance and all the rest of it that went with it. It was just like, okay. But, again, nice little feuds, nice bit behind it, good story. Kurt Angle collecting belts at this point. And, everything has its place, is it not, in this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, China coming out in between as her own kind of entrance was just really weird and off-putting. So it was just like, well, who's in this match? We don't review these really too much, but you would think that she was a participant in this match, and they were going to, no pun intended, wrestle with the thought of having her be a champion like that at that time, and for her to participate in a match against the two men was not unheard of. So, you thought she was a participant, but I must say, what a match. This was fun. This was great.
Do you know what I've put on my notes here? When you see people in NXT that have been there for a long while and their performances are still quite green, and then you see Kurt Angle and, he hasn't been going a long time at this point, and it was just scary to think, how good he was here, considering he hadn't really done a lot of matches at this point, had he not?
No, he didn't at this point. I also think that Jericho might have been in the business 8 years. This is 2000, and Jericho's bounced around. I don't want to say bounce around because it just looks like you don't stick somewhere. But between Japan, ECW, and WCW, he was a guy that well respected.
He paid his dues, hadn't he?
Yeah, and he was he was hardly 30 years old at the time. So just to have that type of caliber superstar, and these guys just flowed so well. China being inserted was just for storyline figures. You would also see later on that China would, and Jericho after the match, later on in the pay-per-view, you'd see Jericho and China stuff Kurt Angle into the trunk of a car, I guess just out of spite.
Mm.
But then it was really weird because as soon as Jericho slammed the trunk, he spit on the car. So
Yeah. Yeah.
wouldn't it be more aesthetically pleasing if you spit on Angle? Anyway, you know.
Yeah. But you know, in this
Awesome.
one we had a really good match, and I like the finish as well. I'm not one for screwy finishes, but this one was really, really good. It protected Jericho and it got Angle a belt, which is what we wanted. And the only bit I didn't like is I didn't like the whole referee argument at the end. I was like, I'm not really bothered about that.
It got oversaturated with that throughout the pay-per-view. And
Yeah.
one other thing I will say is that when we talked about Royal Rumble 98, The Rock versus Shamrock, another screwy finish, but it developed a storyline and a character that would go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Differences, though, I'm thinking about it now, just future dating. I don't know if I want to do the WrestleMania 2000. And the reason being is because maybe there were some good undercard matches, but a very kind of underwhelming outcome as far
very
as
very poor,
you know. So but I'll say this, man, next match, I think it's like a theme. We've got to see the Dudley Boys, right?
And also it's another theme is this is the second belt that changes hands on this pay-per-view. Straight away, back to back, bang. But again, really good match. You know, both teams really, really up there in terms of tag team. One thing that I have put on my notes here is Billy Gunn looks weller now than what he did back then. He looks younger.
he's increased his egg yolks. He's probably eating live babies. I mean, this guy, he's I don't know if you saw the movie Mother. I watched that not too long ago. It's very bizarre, but it's about whatever. I'm not going to get too into it, but it's just revitalization and just, life being a cycle. Yeah. This guy is he's like God.
Yeah.
This
crazy,
guy is just, he's
do you know what's crazy? Obviously, not long ago, I interviewed Devon Dudley for WrestleBuddy, and you see Devon now, and no disrespect to Devon, but he looks his age. He looks like he's around the age that he actually is, because you look at him here and he looks very young. Bubba Ray just looks the same. He still looks as old as he did back then. But you look at as I said, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, he looks older, he looks younger now than what he did back then. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that was, it's just nuts when you think about how this guy is nearly 30 years past this point, and he's just in phenomenal shape.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, we just, you know what happened? The gun club actually came in and just started shooting everybody. They started shooting on everybody. So, but yeah, this was Road Dogg and Billy Gunn ended up having a heated feud afterwards, and there was dissension. So it's like one of those times where you see that DX starting to fall apart, which didn't happen too often, but you knew it wasn't going to continue, and we'll talk about why that was going to happen in the future. So next match, though, now how do we, kids, if you're watching, wherever you are, not sure if you're in your teens or whatever, but there was a point where a older woman gave birth to a hand. There is footage of this too. You can look it up. So Mark Henry, Mae Young were in a very nice relationship. It was loving. They loved each other. That poor hand, he looks great now. He's got full digits, so it's very nice. But yeah, so he faced Viscera and Big Vis with that badass lovemaking music. It would only get better, right? Big Daddy, let me ask you, what is your thoughts on Mabel?
I didn't like Mabel, but I love Big Bloody V.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what Big Daddy V's character was just amazing.
Although I didn't mind Man on a Mission. I didn't mind Samo King Mabel.
Do you know? I just wanted to tell you that I never serenaded here or whatever. I might later on, but I did write you a poem, for this occasion. Okay, actually, I didn't write it, but Jim Johnson did. So it's we're men on a mission. Are you ready? We're men on a mission. Here we go in the house. Men on a mission. Bang, boom, bang. Here we go. Do you like it? You got it all. No, yo, we're in the house. We're ready. So we're men on a mission here.
Let's get it trending on Twitter, guys. Number one there all day. Money. That's money.
That's their
Well,
lyrics.
this one, do you know one thing I will say about this match is a lot of the time when I've seen big guy versus big guy, it's normally not a great match. But this was okay. It wasn't anything spectacular. You know, it's not a 5-star match or anything along them lines, but it was okay.
Right. And I think the added spectrum to that is that you actually have a storyline kind of involved in twisted.
Yeah.
So,
Mid card again.
Seriously, you know, when I'm watching and you know, yesterday I did for the first time, I watched Rampage in a while, you know, because it's usually shit, but I want to see Ricky Starks and Jay Lethal, and they did everything that I thought they do. So hopefully Tony understands that they need to be on TV. But it looked like they were developing a story with Britt Baker having a hit out on somebody. I was like, this is what you need. Make me want to see stories. And let's put it out there. I just pointed out that Mae Young gave birth to a hand. I'm sure if people will, you know, if they watch this, they'll say, hey, look, what the hell happened with that? Even if they knew what happened, they'll revisit it because it was interesting and weird, you know, and it was a developed storyline and a developed angle. But like you said, mid card, you have a focus on that. Not like today.
Definitely. And let's go on. So with this, I thought that the finish was a little bit sketchy. It was a bit, you know, the power slam and then hit pinned Viscera for the win. Viscera kicked out just after the 3 as well, which, you know, I can understand that. I thought that was quite cool because at the end of the day, it's in a way it's saying that he just about got him and, you know, that's great. But I did think that the power slam was kind of, do you know what I mean? But then if you actually look at it logically and you see the size of Viscera, then you can understand, can't you, kind of the reasoning behind the power slam, because it's a big lot of weight that's going down towards the ground on this one.
Right. But I also think it's pancake titty reverb. I think that's what that is. So it just jolts all the way out, you know, like a worm.
Probably get a tit uppercut from himself.
Well, you would, and you would see that when he was Big Big Daddy V. I think the first thing I realized was suspenders. That's a good look, huh?
Do you know where they had like? Do you know what I always thought with like Viscera or even Yokozuna or something is? Do you know when they had like the stink face, with Rikishi and that? Is like they could have done like the motorboat slap or something like that.
It's devastating. It's devastating. Think about that.
Even throw some tassels on there just to make it look better.
You know, if you had a V on each side and you just had giant V's every time he imprinted his tit on you, you know, they hire too many writers. They should just get us there.
Okay, doke. So the next match we had on the card was Edge and Christian, a very young Edge and Christian versus a very young Hardy Boys. Hardy Boys were escorted to the ring by Terry on this one. Obviously, you know, they won the Terry Runnels services, didn't they, when she had that kind of little tournament that she had?
Terry Invitational Tournament.
That was the one.
Tit.
Tit. Brilliant. It was like Tested Albert, wasn't it? TNA.
Yeah, but this one is just blatant. Yeah.
Well, all Terry does when she comes in is she walks into the ring and just leans over the ropes and shows a bit of bottom boob, doesn't she? Not even side boob, it's bottom boob.
Even better looking in person, by the way. I've seen. I actually have an autograph from her. I don't know where. But I met her because it was with a few other people, and I was like, damn, she is a good looking chick. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, you know, back in the day, remember how it'd be like, Sable's hot, although you know how I feel about that. And I'm more of a sunny person, but I was like, whoa, Terry looks good. Dustin is lucky.
Yeah. Right, well, I think this was the point when he got unlucky, wasn't it? When she left his ass, I think.
Yeah.
Some points, unfortunately.
Yep.
Okie doke. And just prior to the match again, good storytelling. We had Terry had hired the Acolytes Protection Agency, APA, Jordan Valuk.
Great shirt.
Protection.
The Hell's Henchman. I forgot about that shirt. I have to look up where to find that because that is thick.
Yeah. And I love the fact that they were out at ringside just watching, you know, basically, and the bit before it where she gives them money and whatnot. Terry turns on the Hardys, and this was classic 2000. Well, classic 97 to 2000 was, we didn't find out why. which made you want to tune into Raw to find out why. And even as a mid card, and you can say, oh, well, it wasn't the main event. Why is people interested? I was interested. You know what I mean? I remember it at the time, and it was kind of like, you know, they used to do this a lot on WWE pay-per-views to make you tune into Raw. Same as the go-home shows before the pay-per-views were always good to make you tune into the pay-per-view. I don't feel like they do that nowadays.
Oh, they did that when they had Brock and Reigns holding onto a title a few years ago on the go-home before Raw before WrestleMania, if you remember that.
Yeah.
But then you also, the main thing of that was, the caveat was that Edge and Christian were both faces at that point too. They came through the crowd and stuff, remember, you know. So it's like, why would Terry disown the Hardys that are also faces? So, and the chemistry was just there. Always, you know, you didn't need Terry there, but it added speculation and feel, and that's why we tuned in every day. You know,
that's it.
Plus that's also before we found,
as we said, Terry turns on them. Edge and Christian get the win. Edge and Christian weren't happy about it, but they got the win. They walked off. Obviously, I think it was Jeff, if I remember correctly, pulls Terry back in the ring. Obviously, APA make good on the contract they've got with Edge, jump in the ring and give the Hardy Boys a good kicking. And
consistency. It's consistency in stories, you know. And you said it before. If the APA were actually people that, like, if you just took out everything and then just watched APA segments, it's a story that builds.
Yes. Yeah. And then we went on to a bit of a throwaway match, which I've got no problem with. Obviously, you know, Bruce Pritchard probably always says this, right, let me up matches, and this was the let me up match on the cards. Taz versus Bossman, ended up submitting in disqualification, Albert interference. Yeah, was what it was.
They made it Taz debuted the prior month against Kurt Angle. So this is just, you could just tell they doomed Taz after this. They made him look, they tried to make him look strong, but why couldn't you just give him a clean win? You know, it's just so stupid, you know, because then, like, clean win, Albert could have came in, he could have ducked the clothesline, then hit the transmission. Cosmohash to me.
So next one after this was the main matches on the card in my eyes. Xbox versus Kane. Xbox with Tori at this point. Obviously, Tori's Kane's ex-girlfriend. She broke his heart. Paul Bearer comes back, which is awesome. Great storytelling again, really good. You know, Kane's in a bit of a bad way. Paul Bearer comes back to resurrect him. Great match, and I thought, you know, I remember watching this and I couldn't remember the outcome because, to be fair, they had a lot of matches over this time period, and the finish just really was pleasantly surprised me. Yeah.
You said it before. I mean, we've watched a few matches, and I'd still say one of the favorites pay-per-views that we talked about was Armageddon 99. So that cage match that he had was the cage match of X-Pac and Kane was just fantastic. You know, like, I just love seeing that because it was the dynamic of a storyline. By the way, mid-card storylines, and maybe towards the top, but this was, you know, X-Pac ended up, it was a no holds barred match. So that's how you have an out to get Kane to lose, because he still is that unbeatable force. But X-Pac heat to me is, oh man, I don't want to see this guy win. If people just say, people mix X-Pac heat with stuff like, you know, certain people on wrestling shows that make you go, I want to turn this off. There's a big difference. Do you agree?
Yeah. So I totally agree. And as I say, with the finish here, I really enjoyed this finish where, you know, gets the stairs, Xbox throws the kick in, but the stairs, the way the angle goes in, pins the shoulders down. Really, really clever finish, this one. Really clever, because let's face it, you know, the size of Xbox, you don't see him pinning Kane cleanly, but here with the added steps on it, it just made it really good and a really clever finish. And you know, mark this down, saying how clever whoever come up with this finish is really clever on it.
Look, it's kind of the same concept of Mankind lowering the pallet jack on The Rock.
Yeah,
you know, pin the guy that way, you still win, and you win a title.
That's it.
Did you watch? Do you remember watching Halftime Heat when that happened?
Yes, I do. I remember it very well, and it was such a clever idea by WWE at the time, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, because halftime shows at that point were like not even that great. So why not? And then I think the NFL started making these elaborate and fantastic schemes.
Yeah,
they might have had like salt and pepper, but salt and pepper worked for WrestleMania too. That was great. Right. All right, so onward, we see the first time we're going to see the pay-per-view debuts of, man, this is crazy. Perry Saturn, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Eddie Guerrero. They're the Radicals. They just came in from WCW. I will say this. The first time I've seen the actual team of them, or the four of them sitting in the stands, was probably one of the coolest things ever, because that's when you go, why are all of these people actually in the front? Why are they not why are they not at WCW? So when that happened, you were like, shoot, like what's going on with WCW, and why are these like main event features? Because Benoit was a main eventer at that time. Guerrero had some legs as far as storyline goes, and Malenko was just a well-respected guy. And Saturn too was like one of the most unorthodox working people you could ever watch. He was just a caveat to where, no, I'm sorry, caveat. This is the second time I had to say that. He was just a spectacle to watch too, and he was innovative. And I think guys like Mike Tenay and Tony Schiavone and Heenan realized that Saturn was very high on the way and the technique that Saturn had. So I'm glad that they actually had Saturn. He didn't have the most.
You know what I've got? I've got down on my thingy here on my notes is the fact of Perry Saturn should have gone further than what he actually did.
Yeah. Do you think that's because
he was sharp in the ring?
Oh, absolutely. Do you think that's because he beat the shit out of Mike Bell when they botched that whole thing?
Yeah, I think there's something to do with that, because he was just so good, really, like in-ring competitor-wise, and also body. The way that, the body, look, sharpness in the ring, he had everything, really, didn't he, at that point? And maybe Mike, and obviously when he done the moppy stuff and that, he showed he could cut, he could do a bit. I know it wasn't exactly the best of stuff on TV, but it was really, really good. And for me, somebody who can perform that type of thing can perform the serious stuff as well.
You're welcome.
Loved it.
Guerrero was in a sling during this whole feud. So just watching the three of these guys, and like, no offense to Too Cool, no offense to Rikishi, but the people that they were facing were miles above them with talent. Excuse me. Scott Taylor, you're very talented, and there's a reason why you were a trainer. You are not any of these guys.
No. The whole Radicals group's just awesome, though, in general, isn't it?
Yeah. They had their own faction, and then, if I do recall, didn't Triple H hire them at some point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's a crowd pleasing match, though. Because at that point, do you remember how over it was when Rikishi and Christopher and Scott would end up just dancing in the middle of the ring?
Yeah. It was always the way, wasn't it? Always get them dancing and stuff like that. Do you know one thing that I didn't like here, though, and it's something I made a bit of a note on, was the fact that, it was Too Cool and Rikishi. Do you know what I mean? It was like, but in my eyes, Rikishi was part of the act. And also, it got me thinking as well is, do you remember, I'm not too sure, and I don't think it actually happened, did Too Cool, I don't think Rikishi thanked Too Cool in his Hall of Fame speech.
No, that's interesting. I don't think that either. Maybe he just got stuck with them. I don't know.
Well, I think by him not mentioning them in his Hall of Fame speech is a bit disrespectful, because I feel like they helped elevate him.
Of course. Who was he prior to that? He was the Sultan. he was a head shrinker. No offense to them, because I thought that was cool. Yeah. And then he was also the Make a Difference. I loved it was a Survivor Series 95 when he's coming out and he's got the Make a Difference thing with the gang affiliation, and Vince McMahon's going, "Hey, what's up? All right, yeah, gonna make a difference."
Yeah, as I say, I just felt like
Community outreach, Vince.
Yeah, I thought like Rikishi got more out of Too Cool than Too Cool got out of Rikishi. I think it's my final.
Nah, I don't know. You know, I wonder if Lawler has anything to say about that.
Okay, though. Well, we'll move on to our features on the cards.
Sure.
And this is where it dips before it then comes up again. Big Show versus The Rock.
I said it before. How does WCW have him for 5 years and he just doesn't understand wrestling technique? It's really, he actually debuted a year prior to this, I think, at St. Valentine's Day Massacre. When was that? We got to look for that, huh? We might have to.
That was February.
Yeah, might do that next. You know, let's do that next week. I think. I haven't watched that since that day.
Yeah, I haven't either. I agree. We watched that one definitely.
All right, so coming attraction, guys. But anyway, Big Show is the rightful quote unquote winner of the Royal Rumble, even though The Rock threw him over the top rope and flipped back up. So there was a few different things going on here. Royal Rumble 2000 took place in Madison Square Garden, so that's how you had the shortened entrance. But when you're really looking at it over the whole ordeal, it's just really weird. Because it's like, okay, so why don't you just restart the match? Because remember, we did the Royal Rumble in 2005 and they ended up restarting it from that. I guess it's a different technique. But anyway, this is where it starts unseating with, first of all, more ref bumps, more agitation between the refs for some reason. Do you remember what the hell was going on with that?
No, I don't even remember. I just remember the whole referee arguing, and I don't know what the whole point of it was.
That's the second time, and that was Tim White too. So maybe that's what made Tim White suicidal.
Yeah, maybe.
But anyway, don't look those vignettes up, guys. Anyway, but you have Big Show being aided by Shane McMahon in the middle of the match to win and become number one contender, because that was the stipulation for this. Winner is the number one contender at WrestleMania. And then you figure out what the hell's going on, and this will then unseat to what, my friend?
The worst ever WrestleMania main event in history.
McMahon in every corner. Making it about themselves, and rightfully so. They established the company, but it's like, it's not needed, guys. Linda McMahon should not be on camera. Except if she's catatonic.
I've got no problem with a McMahon in every corner match, but not for the main event of a WrestleMania. And WrestleMania 2000, the Millennium WrestleMania, the one that should have been really one of the ones who threw everything behind and got somewhere with it.
Right, but do you believe that it was going to be Chris Jericho at this point? Because remember, Jericho just lost the title to BS before.
Yeah.
So I wonder when that was going to flip.
Yeah.
If it was going to flip.
He was on the original poster, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I got to see that. I know it's floating around somewhere, but people got the other thing. Do you know my favorite poster, though? Judgment Day 99. When Kane's face is on there, and inside his eye, you see the Undertaker's logo.
Yeah.
For when the Undertaker came back as the biker.
Yeah. What's the other one that I like? I think it's one where Shawn Michaels is there and the Undertaker's behind him. Looks really cool. I think it might be Bad Blood.
Might be, but that's the Bad Blood with Kane's debut, right?
Yes, it is, but Kane's not on the poster for obvious reasons. Do you know what I mean?
Somebody else want to give me another storyline that I could remember right now that makes sense? Oh, you mean Lana and the Bobby Lashley triangle thing? And never mind. Next up, in our final match, and
what a match!
Come on, like, I'm watching this, okay, and I really don't remember too much of it. I remember watching it live, and a lot of these pay-per-views were watching for the first time in a long time. Triple H, Mick Foley as Cactus Jack in Hell in a Cell. The hate for Triple H with his reign of terror is beyond me. he's elevated people. And yeah, Cactus has been wrestling for a long time at this point, but I think Cactus could even tell you this is one of his favorites. Am I right?
Yeah.
Like watching this, there was unnecessary bumps, but at the same time, it just made you sure that Triple H could go.
Yeah, yeah. I think that, do you know what? I think even Triple H just said this in interviews before, that he owes a lot to Mick Foley for elevating him, where people started taking him serious after these series of matches.
Yeah, look, and 4 or 5 years later, Randy, I was going to say Randy Rhodes. I wish he was still alive. Randy Orton did the same thing with Mick, and then Edge did the same thing with Mick. You know, and this was supposed to be Cactus Jack's last match too. So there was a whole goodbye to Mick Foley sort of deal at the end of the match. But you know, you have several bumps going on. First of all,
how many times did we have these with Cactus though? Goodbye.
Yeah, well, it would be 3 months later you'd see the same thing.
Yeah, but do you know what? Sorry to cut you off. Obviously, you know, we're going to go into the match now, but also is, as a kid, I remember sitting there and I remember watching this main event and I was gutted, thinking, oh no, that's the end of an era. But it seems like he just kept on retiring characters. But after this was the first time we've seen him perform as Mick Foley, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was, I think at one point though, he wrestled against Terry Funk as Mick Foley, came out to no music. Remember that? Austin was an announcer on Raw for that. And he said, this is one hell of a match. And it was, guys. Terry Funk versus Mick Foley on Raw was a hardcore match that was fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. But just putting it out there, at the end of the match, there was a long time where they were trying to take Cactus out on a stretcher. He gets up, walks out, looks at the crowd, and they focused on this. It meant something. Just like, I will say this, as far as modern stuff goes, do you remember when Gargano and Ciampa were closing at a pay-per-view? Then they had the disclaimer on the bottom, watching this, and then all of a sudden Ciampa turned on him. Yeah. I don't remember that happening. No. Awesome. But going into this match, you know you're a psycho if you're going on top of the cage right away. Like, you want to hurt yourself and you want to hurt the other guy more. It was more of a cat and mouse chase sort of deal at that point. Triple H tries to get away. Triple H playing the heel. The little things. I mean, that's all flair when he's holding up the hand, going, no, shaking your head. Theatrics. I hate when people say that Triple H sucked, because it's like, what are you watching? Yeah. Like, what do you expect? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he's a blue blood Triple H. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah. Royal Rolls Royce.
Yeah. You know, did I tell you I helped out his ex-wife one time?
Is it?
Yeah, it was a really awkward phone call. It's just super nice. But I was like, do you have I had to ask. I'm like, do you have any means of getting in touch with him? She goes, absolutely not. I'm like, I didn't think so. Okay. How can I help you out? But anyway, Stephanie McMahon's in the corner here. So there's another little hint as far as what the WrestleMania future is going to be. So right now we have Shane McMahon aligning himself with Big Show, yeah, wasn't it? Stephanie aligning herself with her husband, and they were just in the honeymoon phase too, so good for them. Yeah. And then you have two other people missing, don't you?
Was Vince with The Rock, wasn't he? And Mick Foley with
Linda catatonic McMahon came out.
Can I just ask something as well? Do you know, around this time, if you look at Linda McMahon's face, she actually looks like Dolph Lundgren now.
Do you mean that? Do I really have to look at a picture of Dolph Lundgren right now? It's like, I'm thinking of what was the Expendables? Yeah, you know, Dolph Lundgren is actually the most interesting man in the world right now. Yeah, he knows pie. He's a MIT graduate. Holy shit, she looks like him. Oh my god!
I told you.
Oh,
it's one of them. It's one of them things. Now you have seen, you will never unsee.
Yeah, she's probably in better shape right now, but
Mm.
but good for anyway. So this main event, man, because this just went. But yeah, Dolph Lundgren ends up being in Mick Foley's corner for his return match, and then you get that weird goodbye again. So I don't know, you come out with a fantastic video game for the ages, but it doesn't translate to a great pay-per-view.
No.
But No Way Out, man, I'll tell you this: watching Triple H do a back body drop on Cactus Jack through the cage to go through the ring, that was an oh shit moment.
Yeah.
And a good one too.
And it was a safe one as well, because with what people probably don't realize is when he done it versus the Undertaker, it wasn't agreed with the company. It was something he just done off their own back, especially when he bounced through the ring and whatnot. But this one, by him going through the ring and stuff, it's actually safer, and it's being gimmicked to be able to do that. So, as much as I like to see these people do all that, I never wanted to see what I seen in the I Quit match with Mick Foley or in that Undertaker Hell in a Cell. So I'm glad the way this was.
It's true. And that's why even, you take a look at interviews and they'll tell you that that's why people end up taking the bumps through the table. My favorite is Raven saying, I take a bump through a table, but sometimes people slam me in my head and kill me. So through the table. But the other thing with that Hell in the Cell bump from the Taker one was the fact that a chair landed on his face.
Yeah.
He could have quit right there, and we still would have given him the same respect.
Yeah, not that. And the thing was, where he turned around and went, "Oh, look at me," and he turned to found the camera to show where his teeth had gone through his nose. But we're gonna have to anyway. We'll talk about that one another time, because we need to go over that one. That I think Survivor Series this year we'll definitely be doing that one.
I thought that was
no, sorry, King of the Ring in June, won't it? So we will get to it this year.
Yeah,
we definitely got to get to it.
Look, I'm sorry that we didn't give you Super Brawl, but I will say this: not good. But No Way Out 2000 was definitely a fun pay-per-view. I'm not going to say it was fantastic. There were spots where I'm like, ugh, but Andy, overall grade, sir?
It was, I'm going to say a 4 out of 5. I am. I'm 4 out of 5 for me, this one.
I'm going to go 3-5. Because it's just, the whole ref thing was weird. This was a fun pay-per-view. The Taz thing, you could just tell the burial was there, and I think you could have showcased the Radicals in a win. So there was I don't agree with some booking decisions here.
Okay,
because
do you know what? I'm going to go for a 3 based on that. So I'm going to give you the reasons why I'm going to go for a 3. Okay. The referee crap, China's entrance, that was not needed at all on there. The Scrooby finish with the Rock match, and the 6-man tag.
Yeah,
so there's 5.
We don't like to. Yeah, exactly. We don't like to sit there and say, "Oh, this," they should have done this, but they could have, because they made something shitty out of it. If the outcome wasn't bad, we wouldn't be sitting here. But they made something really bad about this stuff, and it was just bad booking. So, Andy, this was a fun one, man.
Yeah, it was, mate. I enjoyed it. As I say, I watched it last night and I really enjoyed it. It was, sometimes when I'm watching these for the reviews, you can get a little bit, I mean, probably not with us, because me and you, let's face it, we watch what we want to watch. That's the end of that. But sometimes,
sorry, guys.
I know. Well, that's what makes it fun, isn't it? You know what I mean? We don't want to watch shite, which is why we didn't watch Super Bowl. You are all welcome. But yeah, sometimes when I'm watching wrestling, especially modern day stuff, sometimes I feel like it's a bit of a chore, but I have to keep up to date with it sometimes. And it's kind of, obviously for WrestleBuddy and everything else that we do, you have to try and keep up to date with stuff, where this one was a real pleasure to watch. Even them bits that I've mentioned there, that was a little bit, it was still a really good pay-per-view and a really pleasure to watch it from start to finish. And them little bits there that I've pointed out, that's me being very critical about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because we love the product so much. We loved it back then. It was a big thing. I mean, this is the reflection is what makes us youthful. And still, we're not as old geezers, just sitting there going, we hate everything going on, because we don't. But at the same time, treat us like adults
Yeah.
with actual attention spans.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do TikTok. So sorry.
Well, that was No Way Out 2000, guys. Thanks for joining us as always. Me and Dale appreciate every one of you that's watching. We know people are watching through to the end because I can see it on the analytics. So it's really appreciated. And we hope that you keep on joining us week in, week out. Catch us over on WrestleBuddy doing our thing over there. Obviously, this is our retro review channel, which we will continue to do retro reviews. You want some more up-to-date content and want to see what mine and Dale's views are on the modern day product, obviously go over to WrestleBuddy. But until next time, guys, from me.
Hey, what's up, man? Yes, and from Dale too. And next week we do have a special interview, so we will talk about that on Facebook too. Follow us on Facebook too. So,
yep, and we'll make sure that gets announced before we do it. But until next time, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you again, same time, same place next week.